Hey, what's up? So I decided to upload my week 1 of the AFG Pokemon Draft League Season 5. This week I am against DankestDad, and I will go over our team options. My team is on the left here. Victini, Keldeo, Sandy Shocks, Togekiss, Empoleon, Shaman, Dusknoir, Rithera, PORYGON2, Beedrill, and Terra Volbeat. Against Kartana, Tapu Fini, Iron Moth, Dragonite, Clodsire, Weirdeer, Terra, Corsola Galar, Mega Aerodactyl, Ferroseed with Terra, and Crabominable with Terra. I will go into my team here in a second, but first I'll talk about the things I didn't bring and why I didn't bring them. Keldeo did not come to this match. It had a pretty good matchup, except into the Tapu Fini or Clodsire. Not being able to freely flip turn with the Clawed around and not being able to hit Tapu Fini with any kind of damage that's not resisted didn't seem too good. Although I did like its potential into Kartana with Vacuum Wave or just Iron Moth and Dragonite in general. And of course Aerodactyl. So definitely had its merits, but I found things that I think were a little bit better. Next up, we have Togekiss. I did not bring Togekiss. I just didn't really like its matchup defensively, and I felt like I had better Pokemon for the offensive role as well. So that did not come to the match. Dusknoir almost came to the match. I was considering a defensive Dusknoir with Colbur Berry to live a hit from Kartana and then Fire Punch it the next turn. I would always live the next hit unless he's banded. And then Terra Ghost Shadow Sneak to finish it off was the plan. But I found something that I think I like a little bit better. And lastly, Terra Volbeat did not come to the match. He's kind of just our 1-point guy. Don't know if he's ever going to come, but he's there, and he did not come to this match. But everything else we do have a set for, so let's get into it. Alright, first up we have Victini. Victini is a choice band set with V-Create, Bolt Strike, U-Turn, and Trick. Bolt Strike is to hit things like Tapu Fini and Mega Aerodactyl. Mostly Tapu Fini though. Getting a choice banded hit on it has a chance to OHKO based on investment. If it is max HP, max defense, it's not going to, but it's going to do a lot of damage. Next up is V-Create. V-Create is just classic Victini, choice banded. It's going to deal a ton of damage. We're running band specifically with V-Create so we can 2-hit KO the Corsola Galar as long as we don't get curse bodied. Trick is to stop weird setup things and defensive Pokemon like Clodsire. And U-Turn is for momentum. Next up we have Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks is choice scarf this week. We're running Stealth Rocks to potentially lead this Pokemon and get rocks up right away and then switch out and kind of bluff our Scarf hopefully. Otherwise, we have Earth Power, Discharge, and Power Gem, which hits his entire team very, very well. Discharge hits things like Tapu Fini and Aerodactyl. Earth Power hits pretty much everything except Dragonite and Aerodactyl, and then we have Power Gem, which also hits Dragonite and Iron Moth super effectively. This is also something that we can use to outspeed Kartana, which is a big problem for our team. Earth Power, Choice Scarf always OHKOs Kartana, because Kartana has literally no SPDF, so that works out great for us. Next up is Empoleon. We're rocking Leftovers, Defog, Earthquake, Flip Turn, Roost. Pretty much max SPDF here. This is just our Iron Moth check. We're bringing this in on Moth unless it specs or Discharge and reads us coming in. We're not going to get 2-hit KO'd. Earthquake will always one-shot Iron Moth unless it's Shucka Berry. Flip Turn is great if Clodsire goes down, and we can just Flip Turn out on the Moth into something else potentially. Defog is in case we get Hazard stacked and need to remove those because our team is kind of weak to Hazards with Victini and Mega Beedrill. And then we have Roost for longevity. Next up is Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill has U-Turn, Knockoff, Drill Run, Poison Jab. We have enough speed to outspeed Iron Moth, and we threw the rest into HP. And then, of course, Max Attack Adamant. These 4 moves list hit his entire team. Drill Run hits everything except Dragonite and Aerodactyl. And hopefully we will just be knockoffing or U-turning out on those coming in. And then Poison Jab hits Tapu Fini. Beedrill's really good at breaking holes in our opponent's team this week, along with Sandy Shocks. And those are going to be our main 3 damage win conditions. But don't sleep on our next Pokemon. Next up we have Porygon2. Porygon2 is max HP, max defense. Pretty simple here, but we are analytic, which does let us do a bit extra damage. I think it's a 1.3 times boost to our attacks if we move last. That also works if they switch out. We have Recover for longevity because we can eat a lot of hits from things like Aerodactyl and Dragonite. We have Ice Beam to hit both of those Pokemon. It also hits Clodsire, and then Discharge is our other move for Tapu Fini, but we're mainly going to be clicking Ice Beam because we're staying in on things like Aerodactyl and Dragonite. We can also live hits from Kartana, but this is not our main Kartana check because we cannot afford to get weakened because of Aerodactyl and Dragonite. We also have Magic Coat. Magic Coat is good to bounce back hazards on the Clodsire and potential status. I mean, it won't bounce back Toxic on a Clodsire because, well, it will, but we won't be able to Toxic Clodsire, obviously, because it's a poison type. But it can also block things like Will-O-Wisps. I just didn't really need another move, so I thought it might be useful. Last up is Shaman. Shaman has Earth Power, Synthesis, Leech Seed, Seed Flare with the Rocky Helmet. It is basically max HP, max defense. This is for Kartana. This is our dedicated switch in. I don't think he can afford to run X-Scissor on this thing or on Kartana, so this is going to be our main check. Earth Power does quite a bit of damage. Synthesis for longevity. Leech Seed in case we can use that on something else that's not Kartana. Potentially use it predicting him to switch out. And Seed Flare is our other move, just to do a bunch of damage to things like Aerodactyl or Tapu Fini if need be. But mainly this is coming on a Kartana, and we're going to click Earth Power and try and deal with it that way, because we don't have defensive checks to Kartana except for this, really. So yeah, that's our team for week 1 of the AFG Season 5 Draft League, and next up we will get right into the game. Alright, and now we have the battle. This is going to be a post-com. I'm hoping to do live-com in the future, but for today, I did not get a recording for my live-com, so we will be going over the game after the fact. So yeah, let's get right into the game. So we see Sandy Shocks lead into Aerodactyl. I'm leading this because it's my best lead into pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything on his team that this doesn't really match up great into, except maybe the Tapu Fini, because I don't want to take a Surf right now and Discharge doesn't do enough to kill it. But yeah, this is just a pretty free Discharge here, turn 1 for me. So I do go for it. Don't quite get the kill. Would have liked to maybe have Thunderbolt on this instead to try and snag that kill. But we do switch out into Porygon2 here. I was expecting the Clodsire switch, so I wanted to go into that and potentially Magic Coat the hazards that I want to go for. So we do bounce back a layer of spikes. We're going to go straight into Beedrill on another layer of spikes. This is either a knockoff U-turn or Drill run from me. I kind of went for the middle ground play here, which was to knock off in case he stayed in, and it was good if he switched out into something like Aerodactyl or Dragonite. Unfortunately, he does catch me on the Drill run the second turn here. Good switch by DankestDad. I was considering U-turn there, but ended up going for the Drill run, hoping to snag a KO on the Clodsire. But yeah, we can pretty freely bring in Porygon2 on this Aerodactyl. It can't really do anything to me. But he does end up going for Stealth Rocks, and Stealth Rocks are going to be really annoying for me. I'm going to have to remove those eventually. I was not expecting that on the Aerodactyl. So yeah, we are going to have to get rid of those with our Empoleon at some point, or we're going to be taking a lot of damage, especially on Beedrill. Beedrill is not going to want to switch in here on rocks and spikes. So he switched into Clodsire. when I was going for the Ice Beam, so this works out great for me. I'm always faster than Clodsire, so I can just very freely go for another Ice Beam. So we do manage to take out the Clodsire here, which was actually really good into my team, so I'm happy to get rid of that. So Tapu Fini comes in. I could click Discharge, but I'm worried about Calm Mind. So my plan is, while he Calm Minds up here, to go into Empoleon. Empoleon can live any hits, Moonblast, Surf, whatnot that it wants to go for. And I can go into Empoleon. He's going to Calm Mind. Then I can Defog the next turn. He's going to probably Calm Mind to use an attack. And then the next turn, I Flip Turn out. Slow Flip Turn, eat a hit, go into Victini, and hopefully deal a ton of damage to this. So that's the plan here. We're going to go into Empoleon, see what he goes for. It was Calm Mind, so this is going to work out for us. I'm just going to go for the Defog here. That was the plan. Just let this thing Calm Mind up and click Defog. So hazards are gone. And now I can take my slow flip turn out against the Tapu Fini. We do know it's leftovers. Surf does pitiful damage at +2 to Empoleon because we are max Spadef. And we are able to get out of there into our Victini, which is faster. I'll go into that at the end of the game, but barely faster. Bolt Strike doesn't quite claim the KO, unfortunately. It was a roll. We are going to die to Surf, but we can freely go into Beedrill here, or Sandy Shocks, and outspeed and KO this guy. So I do go for U-turn. We're going to go right back into Sandy Shocks, which has a great matchup into everything. He's going to opt to go Iron Moth. I am going to Scout Scarf here and go into Empoleon, because you do not want to lose Sandy Shocks, because it's very valuable. And if he has Scarf, Empoleon can live hits pretty well. Goes for Fiery Dance, does get the boost. I probably should have just clicked Earthquake here. I don't know why I did this. This was not a good play. It was kind of hoping he would switch out, but if he stayed in and got the boost, this was going to be really scary because he was going to kill me with the next Fiery Dance. So kind of rewarded for staying in with him not getting the boost, thankfully. We were able to get a little bit of HP back and go for Earthquake and one-shot this Iron Moth. So next up, he brings in Kartana. At this point, Empoleon serves no purpose, so I'm just going to sack it off to get a free switch in to my Shaman. Shaman is our switch to this. He does switch out. I ended up going for Seed Flare that turn because I was pretty certain he was not going to let Kartana take an Earth Power, so he's going to switch into one of his flying types, so I wanted to get some damage off on one of them. We do break Dragonite's multi-scale here, which is great, and I can freely go into PORYGON2. PORYGON2, we see Curse from the Dragonite, which obviously I was not expecting, but with this set, if he's not running something like Toxic, it's not going to be able to do anything to Porygon, so we get a free Ice Beam there. Gonna recover up on the Dragonite, take a Stone Edge, which does nothing, and able to kill the Aerodactyl with Ice Beam. He's gonna go into Kartana. We're gonna switch into our check as Shaman. Gonna take some Rocky Helmet damage here, which is great, and we can pretty freely go for Earth Power here, because even if he goes Dragonite, which he did, we can just go back into Porygon the next turn and not be too worried. We do see his Resto Chesto though, which is a pretty cool set. Not going to be a big bother for us, and he's going to switch to Kartana on the Ice Beam, which is analytic boosted and does take out the Kartana. Later found out that that was a roll, 75% I believe in our favor to kill the Kartana there, but even if we didn't kill the Kartana, we can freely go into something like Shaman, and we'd be okay from there. We have plenty of things to sack and switch around, so I'm not too concerned. As long as we don't sack the Porygon to the Kartana, we're good to go. So he's going to curse up here and not going to be able to do much against our Ice Beam. That one is going to be multi-scale protected, but this one is going to be able to take out the Dragonite. And PORYGON2 claiming 4 kills in this matchup and doing very, very well. So yeah, that is the matchup. The only thing I was going to go into was Victini, actually. Victini, I didn't run enough speed on. I creeped this. So Tapu Fini, actually, if it was max speed, would have outsped me and killed me with Surf that turn when I went for Bolt Strike, which would have been really bad. but luckily he was not max speed. He did have a fair amount of investment though, but yeah, was not max speed. So fortunately we were able to get the Bolt Strike damage off, which helped us do at the top of Feeney. But yeah, starting off the season 1-0, which is different than normal. I feel like I usually lose the first week and then kind of start winning towards the back half of the season, but maybe this one will be different. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and hopefully next week I can do a live comm for the match.